In this video, I want to answer a few questions for you. Questions such as, what is the SAT? What is the PSAT? And what types of questions appear on the test that you'll take? I have this handy dandy chart to distinguish the two tests for you. Typically, students at HSE and Fishers take the PSAT at school their sophomore and junior years. It's the same test, or at least the same format each year. The SAT is a slightly longer, slightly more difficult version of the PSAT. So you can see the comparison here. There are 4 sections, same types of questions in each section. Reading, writing, and language, math, no calculator, math with calculator. And on the PSAT, the reading section has 47 questions. The SAT, it has 52. The PSAT it's a 60-minute assessment. For the SAT, it's a 65-minute assessment. And you can see the comparison for the other sections. Strangely enough, the writing and language section is exactly the same from a format perspective. But you have a math no calculator section, which is the shortest at 25 minutes. And then you have a math with calculator section, which for the PSAT has just 31 questions and gives you 45 minutes. So total times. The SAT is a 3-hour test. 3-hour test, not counting breaks and the time the teacher takes to read instructions. The PSAT, what you'll take, is a 2-hour, 34-minute test, not counting breaks and teacher reading time. A question I tend to get, so I'll answer it now, is like, how do I register for the SAT? And I just send folks to Google. Seriously, just Google it. I did it right here. How do I register for the SAT? Skip the ad. Boom, there it is. Now, you don't need to register for the PSAT. Your school should do that already. But you do need to register for the SAT. And look at that, a handy-dandy yellow button. You can figure out the rest. But this is the place where you go to register for the SAT. I'm not going to go any further because I'm not a high school student. I can't see what you can see. All right, another question people have is, what types of questions appear on this test? What should I expect to see? Well, I am glad you asked. Again, I'm going to send us back to Google, and I'm just going to type practice PSAT tests. There are a number of companies that prep students for the PSAT. I'm going to go to collegeboard.org because they are the company that makes the PSAT, so they would be the ones who would know what the test is going to look like and know how I can prepare. So I'm going to go to PSAT, and then NMSQT stands for National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test. If you do well in the PSAT, you can become a National Merit finalist, semifinalist, or commended student. That's the test that you should expect to take in the coming weeks. So I'm going to click here and look at practice tests. And we have 2 practice tests. Let's look at these 2. The PSAT 10 is a test that you all, I don't believe, will take, but let's just look at these 2. And you have the practice test itself, but you also have the answers and explanations, a scoring guide, etc. Let's just look at the practice test itself. Here we go. Section 1. I told you it's a reading test, right? 60 minutes, 47 questions. It's just a standard reading comprehension assessment. Typically, the first passage is a literary passage. It looks like this one is. It's from a passage from Emma, Jane Austen's famous novel. You got the passage. You got the questions. And then the next passage is Nature of the Future. This looks like a social studies passage. You're going to get 5 total passages in this reading section, and then you'll get questions. All right, let's go on to section 2. Writing and language test. You're going to get passages again, but the passage underlines key words that you consider changing out over here in question 1. So a no change would mean that what's written here is correct, and then you can see 3 other possible answers. By the way, given these 3 answers, 1, A, B, C, and D, I'm going to spitball and just guess C because it's the shortest answer. I'm just saying, as a reading teacher and a teacher of the SAT, typically the shorter answers are the most concise answers, and the most concise answers are almost always correct. But I haven't had time to read the passage, so I'm going to move on. Section 3, math, no calculator. And you do have a formula sheet. And then you got your questions. Here they go. You should do your work in the book, but you don't get partial credit for doing the work. Just do the work to improve the likelihood that you answer the question correctly. And then we have the last section, if it ever shows up. Yeah, math with the calculator. A slightly longer section, you're given more time for it, but just questions that you can answer, probably answer a little faster because you can use your calculator. So here's what you should expect to see from the PSAT. Hopefully you can go on to the next video that should give you a little more instruction about how to study for the PSAT.